Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from Doing Well. I am once again simulcasting on Rumble and Utizzle, and I hope you all have had a... So, we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. I've got a nice little meme for you to put up on your Meta or whatever places you decide to hang out. Video clips that you will find interesting. Try to keep them germane to what's happening in our world while people come in and get ready to engage in the chats, whether you're just going to watch the chats go by or join us, either way. But if you subscribe, hit the notification bell, you'll know when I go live. And also, give me a thumbs up, helps spread the channel around. So, folks, I'll go ahead and play these videos, and you all settled in. Then we'll be like butter and do what? Get on a roll.
Cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Look at them, they're everywhere.
I'm here testifying today as a proud Latino, but most importantly, I'm here as an American citizen. This is my country, this is my home, this is where I grew up in. And that is why the rhetoric coming from one side of the aisle about these operations saying, no, we got to keep our cheap labor so that we can maintain our standard of living proves that they want to view Latinos simply as an underclass to siphon votes from and fearmonger from every time that there's an election. They're content with keeping us as that servant underclass, and that is why it is disgusting to see them criticize that recent raid in Ventura County where they found unaccompanied minors working alongside convicted sex offenders at a cannabis farm. No, we got to keep them there because or else how else are we going to get high if we can't have unaccompanied minors harvest our weed? It's quite frankly despicable. And the last thing I want to say is that the last time I appeared before this committee, we had one member say that Antifa is just an ideology, it's not a movement, by using an outdated quote from the FBI director. Well, coming back from Los Angeles, Seattle, and Portland just this past month with the recent riots, I can tell you that Antifa is very real, and the fact that they are also connected to that recent attempted ambush at that ICE facility in Texas. So I just wanted to reflect for the record that I was right then, and I'm right now, that Antifa is very real and they're very dangerous. Thank you.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're
storm zone. Yes, sir. I'm wondering what storm it's all.
They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
Now think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give President tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined.
Now the gloves are off.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time.
He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he sees
Constitution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. I hope you all are doing good tonight. Well, let me shut that video. There we go. Let's keep it black and white up there. Mr. T. So I hope you all are hanging in there, doing good. And Sissy's here, Todd's here, Lucky's here. Haha, nice to see you. Robin's here. All right. A Google account. Rain, Darla. Wayne's giving me a thumbs up. Thank you, Wayne. I do appreciate it. And it does help the video get around. Hi, Final Cheese. Even though you all know that I am, hi, Rebecca, that I am throttled quite a bit. Throttled, as they say in England. But anyway, let's see. What you see on the screen there, I meant to talk about this yesterday, I believe. She had an appeal in, she is the law. She's not above the law. She's the law. And she should get every bit as much protection and immunity as the President of the United States. Well, the appeals court said, no, you're going to trial. This is Hannah Dugan, the judge who took it upon herself to aid and abet an illegal alien and help them flee, obstruct justice, or whatever they're charging her with. She's going to go to court, and it's a felony. So they'll probably do some kind of diversion. You don't get in trouble for 6 months and it's off your record and all that. But from the start, I said she should be relegated to traffic court. Okay, but even then, people like this are dangerous. They're dangerous. They are discriminatory, and I think her timber and her pedigree would not allow her to be in a position of authority within the justice system. So, hey, it's her problem, right? Her problem. Miss Mendersu, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Haha. So, I think I'm going to leave this picture up. I haven't had it up in a while. Because that's what we're dealing with. We're getting down to where they are getting pretty desperate. They're running out of talking points. And things don't make sense to them. And instead of trying to organize their thoughts in a manner that would give order to the world that they see, they go crazy. It's somebody else's fault that the world doesn't make sense to them. And as we're finding out, I had this up when I first started the stream. Who have they been blaming? People of faith. People of faith. With the school shooting, I could say, well, they've been blaming Catholics or they've been blaming Christians. But no, it's not only that. It's not only that. They blame any people of principles or a moral structure that most of a civilized world has observed for thousands of years. And how did we get to this point? Most of the people in my audience are of an age where we can honestly say that when we were younger, when we were middle age or 20 or 30 years old, and somebody told you what happened with the world economy shutting down, with people staying home, staying safe, sitting in a drive-through line to have some unknown serum injected in their body, kids being taught across the nation in our public schools is a way to surgically change gender If we told them any of this stuff, somebody told us this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we would have said, you're a nut. Write a science fiction book, okay? But insanity is upon us in large numbers, whatever it shakes out to be after this educational process is over. This red pilling, if 10%, 8%, 20%, it's still a huge number of people who are going to remain mentally unwell, emotionally degraded. So, yeah, we'll have to cross that bridge, as Ted Kennedy said many years ago, when we get to it. Hi, Melinda. How you doing? Who's a lunatic? Oh, the one in the yeah. Hi, Brett. How you doing? Well, I have a degree of pity. A degree of pity. It's not a very big degree, but you're talking about the one who committed the latest atrocity at a Christian school. Reality came knocking at the door, and people are putting it in, what's this guy's name that does cartoons here? People are putting it in cartoon, Ben Garrison. I'll never be a girl, but you can be a mass, you know what? Water, red rummer. And that cartoon is not far off of the reality of how that person looked. And somebody got to a young, impressionable mind. You have to remember, this stuff started under the Obama administration. I said in my past broadcasts of school nutrition, remember that, folks? Traveling around and meeting with the so-called big shots at the federal level. They weren't just talking about school lunches. They were talking about a curriculum of hedonism. That's what I call it. Do as thou wilt. And the majority of Americans did not understand what they thought they were looking at a president and a first lady. They didn't realize. And I keep using the word pedigree, the true pedigree of the people, not philosophical pedigree of the people we were dealing with. We're dealing with, I guess you would have called them then nascent communists. But they can't hide forever. He said it was going to fundamentally change America, and boy, howdy. Boy, howdy. One of the biggest things he did, and of course this was all coordinated, and yes, there is a deep state. Yes, Virginia, there is a deep state. Was the rollout of these so-called Obama phones. What they did was they got in your children's heads, anywhere, in your house, in their school. They had access with the push of a button to adult material, corrupting young minds, confusing young minds, destroying families and relationships, mocking the sanctity of marriage. That's what those free phones were for. To build an army of people who, at a young age, are exposed to demonic thinking. Okay? That's the way I look at it. And anybody say, well, you can't talk about that. Oh, I can't? Well, I am. talking about it. Hedonites, sodomites, malcontents, miscreants, misfits. And that's who has access to our young children. This guy, last I heard, they said he was in his early 20s. This stuff kicked off into gear. Let's not forget, we have been 10 years in this battle with Trump. It's been over a decade since Obama left office. Almost 2 decades when he came into office, hope and change, and telling Joe the plumber, well, we have to redistribute wealth to help people that don't have anything. He's a puppet. He's a little toy, but a very dangerous one, very effective one. Kid. He could have been 10 years old when Trump came down the escalator. Let's put it in perspective. I'm not going to damn somebody. Really? What kind of upbringing did our government expose him to? This is the second church atrocity, I'll put it that way, that happened where the parent was involved with the school. Just pointing out 2 coinkydinks. Were the parents overwhelmed by these external forces that are backed by the government? How could a single parent fend off this kind of psychological attack? Illegal psychological warfare campaign. You send them off to school and they're surrounded by teachers with an agenda, teachers that can't even teach because they never learned. And what did they learn? This dysphoric philosophy. How are they going to spend their days if they can't teach you how to write, if they're too stupid to teach you how to spell, or whatever they're something. So this person could have been 10 years old when Obama came into office. What am I talking about? When Obama left office. He could have been 12 years old when Obama left office, okay? So that means he was exposed to this type of thinking when he was what? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That he wrote in some of his journal papers. I won't call it a tranifesto or manifesto. That's a very specific type of thing, like a Ted Kaczynski would put together. Kind of like Obama's thesis papers, which are hidden from the public. It's not like this guy wrote a thesis. He kept a diary or a journal. And he said he regretted getting talked into this. So I say to myself, when you're 10, 11, 12 years old, 8 years old, who knows when this started? You can't blame yourself. You can't blame that person. And when did he become frustrated feeling hopeless, angry? When did he start expressing that he'd been duped and he did things to himself that was regrettable? When he came of age where his mind developed. And natural law starts becoming apparent to a grown mind. So I have some pity for him. But I'm keeping track. I'm keeping track of when things went down. This person was very young. And he's not the only one. He's not the only, he's one of thousands that are going to start waking up. And we've seen how many people have I put up on my broadcast. Sometimes I got taken down for it. Where they said they thanked God that they were able to turn themselves around from what their parents were doing to them and their teachers were doing to them, those you trust the most. So now they're coming of age. This generation we're dealing with this last event, I don't know what generation they want to call it. They got the worst of it. They got the most intense, unresisted psychological warfare committed against them. He's from that generation that got the worst of it. So, I don't know. I wasn't planning on discussing that in that much detail, but there you have it. Megyn Kelly was interviewing Matt Walsh. Do you think anybody on the mainstream media is going to put this? And I might put up some statistics while they're talking. So anyway, let me play this, cut my mic off.
Makes perfect sense because you look at what's happening today in the media, and the New York Times does a whole article about the shooter, and the only mention of the gender identity is in the context of pointing out conservatives are attacking it, not even considered as something we should be looking at and trying to figure out what was wrong with this shooter's head. CNN, an article entitled How the Absolutely Incomprehensible Shooting Unfolded by Chelsea Bailey, makes no mention of the shooter's gender identity. USA Today doesn't mention the shooter's gender identity at all. Hat tip to Tom Bevan of Real Clear Politics for pointing these out on X today. They're completely whitewashing it like it's a non-factor, Matt.
Yeah, and they don't want to have the conversation. And by the way, the fact the person is trans, this is obviously a relevant fact. This is not just some conservative gotcha moment. This is very relevant. Why is it relevant? Well, number one, if somebody identifies as trans, that means that they are delusional. This is a delusional person who is confused about a basic fact of reality, like one of the most basic facts, which is their own, which is biological reality, their own sex. So this is someone who's has a delusional mindset. We already know that. And also, what are trans people being that, if somebody does not affirm your fake identity, then that person is a threat. They're an actual threat to you. You hear the phrase trans genocide has been used many times. And of course, it's completely absurd. There's no genocide happening of trans people. No one's rounding up trans people and killing them. It's completely ridiculous. But what they mean by trans genocide is, people like you, Megan, or me, who when we go on the air and we say that biological reality exists and we're not going to affirm your delusions, we are somehow participating in a genocide, which makes no sense. But if you have someone who's already mentally ill, they're already suffering from delusions, And then you take that person, you tell them, hey, those people over there, conservatives, Catholics, they're committing a genocide against you. When they refuse to affirm you, they're actually physically harming you. Well, now you're giving that person all the excuse they need, all the pretense they need to commit an act of violence. So this is you've got Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor, wore a shirt that said "Protect trans kids" with like a knife on it. I mean, this is not subtle. You are actively encouraging them to commit acts of violence, and then that's exactly what they go do.
That's exactly right. Actively encourage. That's called, I'll say it, it's called incitement. It's called incitement. When they set people up to fail. On my thumbnail, I have this up. This is a problem. This is a problem. And who's going to tell me it's not a problem? What you're looking at is somebody angry, wearing a damn dopey mask, their hair an unnatural color, their worship banners hanging around, and armed and angry and looking for somebody to blame why their life is a disaster, why they can't feel comfortable, why they can't form a natural relationship, make natural connections with other human beings, why they have to seek out people who are just as angry and just as dysphoric as themselves. Their only safe place is an echo chamber like Blue Sky, where everybody goes to cry. It's a problem. I got that from this meme here. Right here it is. Get a screenshot and put it on your Meta page. They call it roid rage. That's a well-known side effect. Roid rage. On top of God knows what else they're taking. So now we have a massive exodus from the CDC. We're going to be seeing a lot more of it too. Because Tulsi Gabbard said that there was, for the sake of national security, a program ongoing where they're combing through social media. Here's where she pulled the clearance of undercover CIA hand. When have you seen mainstream media use that term before? A CIA hand. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard blindsided the CIA last week when she revoked the security clearance of an undercover senior officer who was a longtime Russia hand and intelligence expert. And I can tell you that that bit of information would not have got out unless they wanted to get out, or if it has gotten out without authorization, they know who did it. They know who did it. They're closing in and they're combing social media to find people that are hostile to the president's agenda, the president of the United States who represents the American people. In other words, people who are hostile to the priorities of the American people. People who want to actively work against it. And I advocated, and I said, well, I'm almost certain of that. That military intelligence and the Department of Defense and Homeland Security has probably got hundreds of people whose job it is to go through social media, especially with AI, and find people who are subversives. Whoops. So, and I also talked years ago, for those of you who've been with me for a long time. Hi, Chusey, how you doing? Yvonne, how you doing? Darla. Bill, nice to see you. Those who've been with me for a long time know about a lot of these subjects that I'm talking about that used to be verboten and taboo, and I would get taken down for saying it. Now everybody gets to say it. But I said that there was a false economy, a massive false culture and economy. The big club. I talked about people who were working as in bureaucratic positions, state, local, federal, millions of them. If you go to my early broadcasts, I said this was going to happen. I said, what are we going to do with all these people who are living in a dream world, getting executive pay, getting the best benefits, vacation time, bonuses, name it, for doing nothing but supporting the promulgation of anarchy and the destruction of Western civilization and not producing a damn thing. They don't even have to come to work. What are we going to do with these people? And what kind of skills are they? How are they going to take care of themselves? Like the one you see on the screen, like the one I had with the cartoon up. What kind of future do these people, when the scales fall off their eyes and they see the reality of who they become and the prospects of finding a path to normalcy and happiness are so dim and so low, they lash out. What do we do? What's the responsible thing for us to do? Try to show them a better way. Try to communicate to them that it's never too late. But that's hard to do when you have a government that censors you and restricts what you can put up. But now, those days are gone. At least in America, we know we're still chipping away at places like the UK and Scotland. Well, Scotland's part of the UK. It's dangerous to be right when the government is wrong. Well, we got a new sheriff in town. And it's up to us to have these difficult conversations and not approach it as that we don't give a damn. Especially when the abuse occurred, the psychological abuse and physical abuse. That's why I said doctor trials again. That's probably the third or fourth time I put in my titles. These people need to be held accountable. for what they've done psychologically and physically to these. What do you do when your innate comprehension skills, innate things you're born with, kick in and you say, what in the hell am I going to do? How can I ever have a happy life? And that's exactly what this last individual put out in their manifesto or their journal. Pasobi brought it up. Let me see if this is it. Oh, no. I'll go ahead and cover this. Cracker Barrel takes down Pride page after backlash. I didn't know they had a Pride page. Remember we were talking about Tractor Supply was hosting a drag queen thing or some kind of event like that? And I said, well, call their corporate office, call the local manager, be nice, and say, you guys just lost my business. If you want to gain it back, you better stop. I'd have done that with Cracker Barrel, but I didn't know they had a Pride page. But is there a nexus? Who is influencing these companies to behave in such a ridiculous manner? Such an offensive manner to people that have children that are trying to raise their children with respect for God's word, which is they have every right to do without corporate and government interference. But what do? You can't be happy because of the Christians. Just like Matt Walsh was saying, you can't be happy because of the Jews. You can't be happy because of the Catholics. Even now, when they could, they still had a lot of the 6 months ago. They still had a heavy stranglehold. They still have a chokehold. A chokehold. They can suppress videos. They can push you down in the rhythm like they do me. Make sure you only get like 5 to 10 subscribers a month. You go 3 or 4 years. Maybe pick up 50 here, 5. They can do that to you, but not the stranglehold. Like when they just shut you down at 4 o'clock in the morning, like they've done to me many times. So, since they don't have a stranglehold, they can't keep people quiet, whether you like them or not. They got a big voice. People like Mark Dice. People like, what's the Beanie Boy guy, Tim Pool. On and on. You can name dozens of influencers that already have reach, that spilt the beans right quick. We had another tranny shooter. Well, the cat's out of the bag. Well, here's a breakdown of how the media was covering it and trying to throw out on top of respecting the pronouns. I don't have to respect those pronouns. I respect whatever earns my respect. But then cautioning people, don't be mean. No, I'm not going to be mean to them. I'm going to pity them, and I'm going to try to get them to see the way. And I'm going to try to find ways to show them who they really should be angry at and what needs to happen to the people that cause this, and help us make sure it never happens again, and how they can work to turn their lives into a positive and live in a way that pleases God. Because if you can't do that, you're going to be miserable. God will mock evil people when their plans fall to catastrophe. You'll get mocked. by God himself. But no, they're telling us, don't alienate. No, we don't want to alienate them. We want to show them the right way and let them know who is that they can adjust their lives, adjust their hearts to where they can function in a normal manner and bring forth young people into this world that they don't want to throw in a dumpster behind Planned Parenthood after their organs have been sold off. That's the world we're living in right now. And hopefully they can turn their lives around. But here's how the media, who is pushing these buttons with the media?
Federal law enforcement identifying the shooter as Robin Westman, formerly known as Robert, but filed for a name change in 2019 to use female pronouns.
For the first time, we are now learning who that shooter is. The minor child, quote, identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that.
She identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage. It's now Robin Westman.
Robin Westman, 23 years old. When you have mass shooting investigations so often, there is a pattern. I think police are trying to get after that tonight.
You know, you see obviously some real clues here as to what a motive could be, but they're not saying formally what it is yet.
We don't have a motive at this time.
It's unclear what the motive was.
Again, there's just nothing specific in the evidence that's been recovered.
There's no information, nothing specific to identify a specific motive, but they'll be continuing to talk to people to see if there was a flag, if something may have popped up that they can look into.
There's no clear motive, and that's what we want to know. Was this a revenge shooting because there were prior affiliations to the school? Is this notoriety?
The shooter identified, we are told, as female, legally changed their name from Robert to Robin. There's no connection yet from that to the motive.
I don't believe that how the shooter identifies currently in this investigation right now is of significant importance.
Would a quote stop villainizing the trans community after learning that the suspect, who was born male, identified as female.
Spoke about this so profoundly and powerfully.
I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community.
Anybody that is going to use this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community.
This is not the time to jump to conclusions about the shooter, right? What his ideological views might have been, what his own personal
Situation was. I don't know why.
No, we want to know who the therapist was. And we want to know who the adults were. Because they said 23 years old. At the beginning of this little video, they were saying he was a minor. But I heard somebody say 23 years old. So he was 13 years old when Obama left office, maybe even 12. So he was at the most vulnerable point in his life during Obama's presidency when this trans crap started off full force. He was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, being pelted with this garbage in one of the most liberal, hedonistic states you can find, Minnesota.
Why this has been a trend lately when it comes to shooters. But immediately you'll see a bunch of accounts online argue that it's a trans problem, that the shooter was trans. A lot of shootings happening all across the country from different demographics, but a lot of the mass shootings are carried out by young white men.
They say demonic, and then it's transgender maniac shoots up Catholic school. They could very easily say time and time again, straight white maniac shoots up Catholic school.
There's a lot of misinformation circulating right now. This individual, as far as we know, did identify as transgender. However, as we look at the spectrum of mass casualty events in our nation's history, there have been a range of motivations and a range of profiles that have been associated with mass casualty events. You look at the shooting in Charleston at a historically black church in 2015. That was perpetrated by a white supremacist.
Let's just be very real here.
We have too many guns in America. We have these assault rifles that can reel off 30 clips.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's whose fault it is. The gun's fault. No, we're not going to vilify the individual. We're going to point out and condemn the people that promoted this and infected young minds with this kind of dysphoric thinking. And we're going to reach out to people that it may not be too late for. Because they are human beings and they were abused. And a lot of us were asleep at the switch. Don't even know who's on our school boards. Don't even know who's running our towns and cities and counties. Don't even know who our state representatives are. Now, I know that they've created a system where you're on a hamster wheel. I've talked about that many times. You don't have time to be focused. You get frustrated. You look at the ceiling and say, my God, what's happening? But you got to stay focused. You got to get focused. And we're going to get our leisure time back. We're going to get our peace of mind back. That's coming. And people will have time. When you're distracted, that's when the con artists come in. And you've seen the shell game, find the pea, where the guy's got walnut shells and he's got a buddy standing next to you, does something to distract you, and he switches things around and you miss the pea. That's what they do, distract and destroy. I'm going to put this as a soda. What do they decide to do? They decide to charge this woman for using the N-word. Remember her? She gave the finger. That's their talk about a distraction. Months old. People have forgotten about it. Charge her with a crime for saying a word that if you're sitting in traffic with your window down, you'll hear 100 times if somebody sitting next to you is playing their stereo. But no, they'll make it a big deal. Don't worry about what's happening in Minnesota. Tampons in the boys' bathrooms and churches getting alone with her child at a park, being confronted and verbally accosted by a grown man who and some teenager stealing from her baby's diaper bag. Persecute her. Don't put anything about what happened at the school, what Tim Walsh has done, what Tim Walsh is looking at. I'm sure he's looking at stuff. And by that, I mean charges. You think he's got clean hands? These people are desperate to keep Trump out. Here. George Soros' friend on the West Coast, I believe. I read Trump's Truth about Soros need to be locked up for RICO, okay, along with his dopey son. And he said his West Coast friends. Here's one of them right here. I had a clip other than this where Newsom was talking about ICE being the largest private police force in the world, according to him. And Trump was going to turn them into voters for Trump. They put out an ad for 10,000 people to join ICE. They didn't bat an eye when Joe Biden recruited 86,000 IRS agents authorized to carry a weapon. Does this news reporter correct him on that? No, of course not. But what they're trying to seed in people's minds is that Trump is using his power to rig the election by getting 10,000 ICE agents. That's going to swing a national election. Listen, they're coming in for the biggest ASS whooping, political ASS whooping that this country hadn't seen in generations. 2026 ain't going to be a red wave. It's going to be a flipping tsunami. And they know it's coming. And they're looking for excuses. But in this particular clip, he's using violent language. He's inciting fear and he's inciting vitriol. Tell me he's not. Listen to what he has to say.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. Hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
No, don't give me. Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house? So this is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No. This guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there, January 6th? I mean, he tried to light democracy on fire. He dialed for 11, almost 12,000 votes. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And people said, oh, just...
You will lose your country. He dialed up for 10 or 11,000 votes. Another lie that I believe rises to criminality. Saying Trump called to intimidate for 17,000 votes in Georgia. The context is plain. He said you have all these votes you know are illegal. People who aren't alive anymore. People who don't live in the state anymore. People who are not legal residents or illegal aliens. You've got tens of thousands of votes you know are bad. And I only need 17,000. You can't find 17,000 out of that mess. That's what he said. But the narrative supported by the media and repeated by greasy trash like this is that Trump called up and said, you better get me 17,000 votes. That's criminal. To carry on that kind of fraud is criminal, and the media is complicit. But now, he's trying to get people to think. If you don't act now, he's using the term they keep using in this moment. Remember Kamala was using it? In the moment. What are you going to do in the moment? To create urgency, desperation. That it's a good thing to act. Act now. Don't try to have a fair election. Do something about it now, or the world's coming to an end because of Donald Trump.
Again, it's not about Democrats or
2028.
You've seen it. He tried to steal the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight. I'm on the other side of giving a damn about people's feelings about this moment. I will express myself more clearly and more concisely. because I see the threats in very vivid terms in ways I never saw before. And I see the consequences of not just those threats from the administration, but the actions of this administration, more perhaps than any other governor in the United States, because I've seen the damage firsthand to communities, this economy, our reputation, to our allies, the world we're trying to build. This is simply the most destructive and damaging individual. I have to meet this moment. And so, yeah, this has been very clarifying. It's been very sobering.
I hope your ass ends up in jail for many, many years. That'll sober you up. Here's a reporter reporting from Union Station. You can't believe how clean it is. If you ever been to Union Station, brother.
Adam, good morning. And this morning, we want to give you an inside look. We are inside the main atrium here at Union Station. My opinion, it looks cleaner than it has in years, but there are still some vacant spaces that are ready to be leased. Take a look. This is actually where that press conference was held yesterday. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced the Department of Transportation is retaking direct control of this Union Station. The department has owned the historic building since the 1980s. But much of the daily management was handed off to Amtrak and the Union Station Redevelopment Corporation. Now, officials say upgrades are badly needed.
Yeah, let's see what kind of upgrades we're getting. New roof, renovated restrooms, better security, improved lighting. $170 million. Trump was not in office. How much do you think the estimated costs of a new roof, new bathrooms, better security, improved lighting would be? How about $999 million? Not a billion, $999 million. That's exactly what it'd be, and it'd just be just as big of a SH, and that's it whole as it was when the project was started. Now, I'm not playing this clip to be overly praising of Laura Loomer. People have their own opinions of her. But listen to this media narrative. Listen how this clip ends. Some of her stuff's a little too wild for me. It's like Kristen W. when I used to watch her. And she was talking about, some off-the-wall stuff. But they get the point. They get the point, the general point. And I'd rather have them be overly suspicious than not suspicious enough. But anyway, listen to this coverage of her. And I hope they cross the line with enough people. I've talked about keep messing around with Melania, okay? Keep messing around with Barron Trump or Eric Trump and get your eyeball suit out of your head. I hope that's the case with a lot of people like Laura Loomer, Laura Logan, people like that they get an actual shot where they can drag these cretins in court and sue them. But anyway, listen how this little segment ends.
I just think that these media representatives, they should be ashamed of themselves for trying to demonize people like me.
It concerns this phenomenon in American political life called Laura Loomer. Explain who she is and how she has so much power.
Trump adopted her during the last campaign as an outside advisor who would fight for taking that place now. She's responsible for dozens of people being pushed out of the administration. And she does it mainly through her Twitter account. I mean, she talks regularly with the president. She's met with him a couple times. She talks regularly with senior staff. There's a lot of distrust and dislike of her in the White House. They would rather she go away, but they know know they don't control that.
You interviewed her in the last few days. Tell us one of the remarkable things that she told you.
I mean, she was going after Earl Matthews, who's one of the highest ranking African Americans at the Pentagon. And she said, well, I don't listen to anything he says.
Straight up racist.
Yeah, I could go on with others, but.
So they called her a racist. Some guy, I forgot his name already. I've never heard him in the Pentagon. But she said, I don't listen to what he says. Well, we had a lot of voices out of the Pentagon we shouldn't have listened to. But they teamed up. You notice how one said, well, he was the highest ranking African American at the Pentagon. And she said she doesn't listen to him. And then the other one jumps and says, straight up racism. And then he says, yeah, and I have a lot of other examples. They double teamed her. Sue them both, I say, for publicly disparaging you, libel and slander. That's what needs to happen. Trump put this out. I should have put this out after I put that Sobey tweet, but Donald Trump put up another Cracker Barrel reference, except it's America first. America is back. He's got his elbow on a barrel of oil. Oil is what? Organic. Oil is organic. When have you ever heard that? Did you ever hear it in school? Did you ever hear it in the media? Where the hell do they think it came from? It's simple. There's organic and there's inorganic. You can't eat a rock. Oil comes from organic matter. It is the second most abundant liquid in the world, next to water. And we're going to use it as intended. Here's Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, that woman got fired because she wasn't going to do what the president wants to do. And there's going to be more of them getting fired. That's why they're leaving. Fine, they can get fired. I can tell you that. At least they can go wherever place they go to get a job. They can act like they're noble. I resigned because of my principles. Instead, I got fired because I'm a loser.
Thank you, Governor. My question was, in light of the recent resignations of the CDC, how are you ensuring that that agency is able to do its job effectively?
I would say this, that first of all, I will confirm that we let go Susan Menares yesterday. I'm not going to talk about personnel issues, but the CDC is an agency that is very troubled for a very long time, and anybody who lived through the COVID pandemic and saw all of these bizarre recommendations that were not science-based, all the misinformation, understands that the CDC has on its website today that among the top 10 medical innovations, greatest medical accomplishments in history was abortion. This is one of the greatest medical accomplishments because it keeps small families. Go to the website, look at it. Fluoridation, giving kids a toxin, and vaccines. So there's a lot of trouble at CDC, and it's going to require getting rid of some people over the long term and bring back pride and self-esteem and make that agency the stellar agency that it's always been. I'm very confident in the political staff that we have down there now that they're going to be able to accomplish that and ensure the competent functionality of that agency.
That's it. That's all.
Restore competence. Competence. They sit there and say one of the greatest medical advancements was abortion. And they have people running around They had people running around, mask, shutting down the world economy, driving up rates of alcoholism, divorces. How I look at people still wearing masks. Yeah, that's right. Used to be I had the meme where we point and laugh at them. Not anymore. Carolyn Levitt had a great press conference today. Where is she? Let's put this one up. Let's see what she's talking about in this clip. And they throw their little poison darts at her, and she just swats them away.
First on the firing of the CDC director. First,
sure.
Who will replace her? And then also, overnight, the White House said that she did not align with the president's agenda. Dr. Menard's attorneys say that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fired dedicated health experts. What specific?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyers.
Dedicated to what? Dedicated health professionals. What were they dedicated to? Dysphoria? MNRA? Or whatever the hell that crap is they want everybody.
Statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with what she would, and then she said she wouldn't, so the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump who was overwhelmingly reelected on November 5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission. A new replacement will be announced by either the president or the secretary very soon. And the president and Secretary Kennedy are committed to restoring trust and transparency and credibility to the CDC by ensuring their leadership and their decisions are more public-facing, more accountable, strengthening our public health system, and restoring it to its core mission of protecting Americans from communicable diseases, investing in innovation to prevent, detect, and respond to future threats. That's the mission of the CDC, and we're going to make sure that folks that are in positions of leadership there are aligned with that.
There you have it. Nice professional way of saying, get your rear ends out of here. You don't fit in the picture, you lunatics. Here's what General Flynn put this up. If y'all check him out on Twitter and study some more. And study some more. 5th generation warfare. 5GW 100%. Study. How to fight artificial intelligence. I say, go to the thrift shop, buy yourself a 1970s dictionary and thesaurus. Find you some old encyclopedias, some history books, and read them. But anyway, these are books on how lonely, susceptible, radicalized. The Clinton's Guide to 5th Generation Warfare. The Citizen's Guide to 5th Generation Warfare. That might be a book you want to get and study. If somebody's not overly hardcore, I can get through to them. Common sense. Here's Carolyn Levitt again. What is this one about? What are they trying to trip her up on this time?
Of my predecessor. Incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church, it's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves who need it right now more than ever.
My second question for you is that there have been media outlets who have glazed over the fact that the shooter was confused in their gender identity. Does the administration believe that this element needs to be investigated in the shooting?
All of the elements are being investigated in the shooting, absolutely. Which is why part of the reason the FBI director came out and immediately confirmed that facet of the investigation.
They mainline disparaging people. It started off with interviews with people who had been exposed, supposedly. I think they were crisis actors. And they would say, we don't need your thoughts and prayers. We need common sense gun laws. So it started off with that to where it is now, where you have the media disparaging thoughts and prayers with the likes of Jen Psaki and mayors and governors. Thoughts and prayers aren't enough. They inculcate this kind of disparaging attitude into modern discourse, and we're gonna fight back. Here's an idiot, a criminal, accused. I will say that. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has sued President Trump over his attempt to fire her from the Board of Governors, challenging its effort and asking a judge to block it. Names Chairman Jerome Powell and the Board of Governors as defendants. MSNBC. Breaking Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook sued President Donald Trump on Thursday, beginning a landmark legal illegal efforts to remove her from the central bank. They don't say alleged, unprecedented, and illegal, do they? They just put it out there as a statement. Well, no deals for you. For you, since you want to sit there and go to the mat. You know, Trump put out a truth the other day. I didn't get to put it up. He said he'd already collected $1.5 billion in a campaign war chest. And look where the Dems are. DNC still paying millions for Harris's pathetic presidential campaign. Go to Oprah. How many people they give millions of dollars to just to say rah rah sis boom bah? That's against the law. Jennifer Lopez. Go to them to help you pay it off. Midas trash bail. Here's how they're dealing with the CDC exodus. Midas health emergency episode. Trump regime removed the CDC director, triggering multiple high-level resignations. Dr. Vin Gupta explains what this means for public health. A full-scale assault. He fired one biddy who was being a recalcitrant smart aleck, and the rest of them had a hissy fit and quit. That's their problem. But no, it's from Trump's assault, full-scale assault. And who's this Dr. Vin Gupta? Well, I got a little surprised when I went to the comments. The top comments were as one would expect. Honestly, this has to be Russian influence. What American in their right mind would destroy the institutions that keep America healthy? Corporations need healthy workers. What in the hell is this person smoking? The next one. He's dying and wants to take as many people with him as possible. So they're pushing that crap about the spot on his hand. And didn't say a word when Joe Cadaver Biden was stumbling around with the auto pen. They're not serving, they're terrorizing. That's what Kimberly says. Kimberly Peterson? Knowingly and willingly endangering lives. I can smell the box wine and cat pee from here. But you scroll on sites like this, you scroll down to the bottom comments. I figured this out. They have a way of putting all the pro-Trump comments on the very bottom of the comment stream. So I got a screenshot of the bottom comments. The ones that are pro-Democrat, they put up top. I don't know how they do that, but they do it. CDC, Big Pharma, and Fauci. Yeah, you see, I gave him a thumbs up. Not that it would even show up. Good, I hope he fires all of them. CDC is supposed to protect. They're not doing their job. W for the win. Somebody put, shut your goop down. I thought that was funny. And then the best comment of them all, Midas touch for prison. So they hide the pro comments way down at the bottom. We're on to you. We're on to you, Midas Trash Pail. What was this about? Horror moment. Russian missile strike inflicts massive damage on British Council building in Kiev. I hadn't heard this in any other media. Is that like a consulate? What did Putin say about striking decision-making centers? I'm just putting that out there. Just putting it out there. New York Post. Libs of TikTok put this up. The Democratic Party grooms kids into being grandstanders and turns them into radical alphabet terrorists. Minneapolis school teacher Robert Westman confessed he was tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. A Minneapolis school teacher. How old are you and how long did it take you to get tired? You know, I got this other one here. What are we going to do? How are we going to vet these school teachers? Where's that one meme, that one story I had? Here it is. I don't care about Taylor Swift getting engaged. I don't care. But boy, I'll tell you what, a lot of people do. I can't focus. Teacher cancels class over Taylor Swift engagement. This is an adult. Can't do their job because they're all wigged out over a celebrity getting engaged. You know, I used to give my poor, dear, sweet grandmother a hard time because I want to watch my stories. Remember that, folks? You all know. You had your mom and your grandmother watch. We got to watch our stories. We'd say, why would you get so involved over some stupid drama on TV? Well, that was nothing compared to this. So, Grandma, I am sorry. But anyway, yeah, that's teaching your kids. They can't keep their brains focused enough to deal with somebody else far away you'll never meet, could give a damn about you. Here's a funny meme. I don't know who put this up, but I'm going to put it up too. Trump's coming to Chicago and Pritzker's driving. My plumber Intel sent me a TikTok video of, I guess it was AI. It was two sumo wrestlers, two big fat flopping around sumo wrestlers. Where one of them's head was Pritzker, and the other one had what's his face, Chris Christie, the sloppy slob twins. Hi, Larry, how you doing? Who'd I miss? Did I miss anybody? Lori's here. So anyway, yeah, put that on your meta page. There'll be running soon. Let's see what Mr. T had to say here. Governor Pritzker had 6 red rums in Chicago this weekend. 20 people were SHOT, but he doesn't want to ask me for help. Can this be possible? The people are desperate for me to stop the crime. Something the Democrats aren't capable of doing. Stay tuned. He says that twice in his truths. Stay tuned. The Republican Party is doing really well. Millions of people have joined. We won every aspect of the presidential election, and based on the great success we are having, we are poised to win big in the midterms. We have raised far more money than the Democrats and are having a great time fixing all the country-destroying mistakes made by the Biden administration and watching the USA heal and prosper. The results are incredible. A record pace. In that light, I am thinking of recommending a national Republican convention, a national convention to the Republican Party just prior to the midterms. It has never been done before. Stay tuned. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. I'm going to put that on my next thumbnail. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're going to have a big bash. We got all that money. Let's have a big bash. And we'll have celebrities that just want to show up, that you don't got to grease their palm. Right, Oprah? Oops. I just put that one up. Here we go. Let's see what Jack Posobiec said. RFK Jr. Health and Human Services investigate meds taken by the trans Catholic school Pewer. Something changed, and it dramatically changed human behavior. Remember, Trump was talking about childhood illnesses? Remember that, folks? And he was saying there's got to be a cause for all these increases in childhood illnesses. I'm sure he's talking about on top of diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity. I'm sure he's talking about psychological disorders. And we're going to find the cause. He's confident of it. So here we go again. Another mention. And a lot of these so-called doctors were prescribing these puberty blockers and other drugs in a manner that is not permitted by federal law. They're gonna find that out too. A lot of places change the law specifically to keep their doctors from getting in trouble. The swamp is deep and wide. Here she is again. Let's see what happened here.
With that, I'll take questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today.
He's on YouTube as known as the Officer Tatum. The Officer Tatum. And he starts off giving them their own medicine. His question is done in the form of statements. You know how they make statements and then they throw a poison question. Well, he says things like, if you got a brain cell in your head, if your brain's connected to your spinal column, stuff like that.
And on behalf of everybody that follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making a sacrifice and dealing with some. I have two questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump and the White House going to do to address mental health issues around the country associated with these shootings? And the second thing is Chicago. You know, anybody with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure. Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now, the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances, and so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, American cities are safe again, and I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago, it's a great place to live, there's no crime there, he doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ, and I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more illegal guns recovered in Chicago than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. The number of reported motor vehicle thefts last year was more than double the number in 2021. And Chicago has also, just like D.C., come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding Americans
in the city of Chicago.
She said 16%. 16% of the crimes had been solved. Namely, 84%. The criminals walking around, people are just doing what the hell they want. Oh, by the way, folks, if you enjoy my content, my efforts that I'm putting forth, I have a link in the description for Buy Me a Coffee. This is a viewer-supported channel only. I'm not monetized on YouTube, and we have people going by buy me a coffee. And this week is the last week of the month. And I had Wayne and Mike and Bev go by buy me a coffee and help out. And as Norm has proven in the past, it works after hours. The link works if you're watching the video after the live stream. Ha ha ha. So anyway, thank you all for your support on Buy Me a Coffee. I had this clip. They're talking about Chicago. Chicago's going to rise up. Chicago is going to resist when Trump shows up with his National Guard. It's going to be a big surprise how the people are going to rise, right? Well, not according to these nice folks who came to let the politicians know Chicago has flipped.
You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in a $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaigned and doubled down that you would not raise property taxes.
I won't raise your property taxes.
You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example at this right here first. Please come here first. Spend our tax dollars to go. Michael Rodriguez, you said to take Trump to court to protect these illegals. That's cool because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this is how it's gonna ride? I think not. Flip Chicago red. We not playing.
This was going to happen to you. You got Kash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're going to have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment. Conviction. That's what's going to happen to you.
Mr. Brandon Johnson, I'm up here. I am speaking right now, so I would love your undivided attention, please.
He's got to make America great again derby on. I used to have a derby, a red derby like that. That's pretty cool.
So this just proves to you the lack of leadership that you show. I'm going to let you know now, the people of Chicago, we're done with you. It is insane how we have been voting Democrat for over 60 plus years, and we've never seen a change from people like you, Lori Lightfoot, Rob Emanuel. It is insane. Chicago was 37% red. In 2020, it was only 15%. So we're waking up. So you can pretend that this isn't happening, but I know for a fact that you will not have that seat the next election.
You so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens.
Yeah, they were raking him over the coals. They were raking him over the coals, and it's a beautiful thing. I enjoyed that video. This one I should have put the lopsided Bronco with Trump hot on their heels. I got to get back up my studio. I had that for a while in my studio. I'm just checking the chats. Hi, Bruce. How you doing? I like Derby. I used to go to a haberdashery. Look that one up. A haberdashery. I got about 5-6 different hats I like. Advocate Healthcare in Illinois is reportedly cutting gender transition care services for minors after the Trump administration threatened to cut funding. It's not only that. I'm sure it's important, but they're probably going to be looking at going to jail. I can't believe that we are this lost and dysphoric that we can allow. I'm going to put some pictures up of what kids look like after they get finished doing what they do to them. And it ain't pretty. Trump posted this. Oh, the White House posted it. White House. It's almost Labor Day. Maybe Trump's got something up his sleeve for Labor Day. I don't know. What did he say? Stay tuned, right, folks? Stay tuned. Oh, believe you me, we're going to stay tuned. Look here. These two, this is Mexican Congress. They got in a scrap over the U.S. using its military to deal with these cartels. Whose side do you think who is on? What is the matter with these grown men? Doesn't anybody know how to throw a straight right or a right hook? Somebody shoves you around, you just go ahead and put their rear end on the floor. Pop. It's called a straight right or a right hook. Take your pick. Down they go. Right on the jaw. Laura Loomer said under Joe Biden, the U.S. State Department installed Islamic foot washing stations inside their bathrooms. These foot washing stations are still there. Did you know this? Muslim employees at the U.S. State Department even set up reflection rooms for Islamic prayer, and they encourage Muslim employees to hand out Ramadan guides to their non-Muslim colleagues so they can learn how to be sensitive to Islamic holidays. I'd be showing up to work with a piece of bacon hanging out of my mouth every morning, gnawing on a big old greasy slice of bacon. How y'all doing today? This taxpayer-funded Islamification of America inside our government is on your dime. Imagine being at work and watching your colleagues stick their dirty, crusty feet inside your bathroom sinks and toilets on your dime. Why is this allowed in the United States government? We are not a Muslim nation. You know, Andrew Branca brought that up. He used to go to a lot of truck stops and stuff and ride a motorcycle. And then I don't know, about 10 years ago or so, maybe more, 15, during the Obama changing of America, they brought all these truckers in. And they were going in and washing their feet in where you can wash your hands. You know, or at a truck stop, you might want to brush your teeth or shave. Well, here these guys are washing their, crusty feet. It's pretty disgusting. And there's other stories I'll tell you, but not tonight. About Cincinnati Police Union votes no confidence in Mayor Aftab Purval after viral mob attack that left woman knocked out. The Cincinnati Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, Lodge 69, unanimously voted no confidence in Mayor Aftab Purval. Well, you better keep it up. I mean, it's time to start taking a damn stand. Mexican president demands U.S. share 15 with Mexico's poor. Character named Zambada. I talked about him in the past too. I won't get too deep into that, but it's a horrific fact that he was allowed to walk free. He should have been drumhead tribunal, and you know what that means, folks. Pled guilty in New York courtroom Monday to drug trafficking and murder. Well, Trump can say, look, you guys owe us money for what you've been doing with your sewage out of Tijuana. Remember Trump was talking about that? Okay, we'll put your half toward that tab that you owe us, okay? With your filth. What's this? Police searching for suspects after woman with a walker fatally shot in the face on New York Street. In a police tape. This lady was minding her own business to the extent that she could. Police are searching for 3 male suspects in the fatal shooting of a 69-year-old woman with a walker in New York City's Harlem neighborhood, according to the New York Police Department. The victim was not the intended target of the shooting. Police have not made any arrests. Oh, what, do you all got a 16% rate of solving crime too? And have not released any further description of the suspects. That kind of stuff is going to be getting the National Guard involved. Bruce Willis. What's going on with Bruce Willis? He's got dementia. And his wife announced the 70-year-old movie icon, Bruce Willis, has reportedly moved into a new home with 24/7 care, separate from his wife Emma and their children. He can no longer speak or remember that he was once a famous actor amid his battle with dementia. Man, that's terrible. He passed away. He didn't even make it to 60. He started showing signs around 54 years old, or we started noticing, I'll put it that way. And he might have got to 62, but he didn't live long once we started noticing. So anyway, apparently he's got some knowledge that what's happening isn't the best thing in the world. He's leaving his home. But hopefully he won't go through too much emotional trauma. More than necessary, I'll put it that way. Here, you all know this guy, Fox News host John Roberts, diagnosed with a severe case of malaria. He recently visited Indonesia. You know, Teddy Roosevelt went up the Amazon River and contracted malaria and lost over 100 pounds. And the only thing that kept him alive was he had an early version of hydroxychloroquine. What was it called? It's well known. They used to take it back in the day. I have to think of it. But anyway, that's what he was using. That saved his life. And he lost over 100 pounds. So, and he was never the same again. Teddy Roosevelt. But anyway, let's hope that John Roberts doesn't succumb to that. I'll put it that way, that he recovers quickly. Let's hope that that's the case. I have got, let's see here. Let's see what this one is. FBI Director Kash Patel. As we continue to investigate yesterday's barbaric attack from Robert Westman, the male subject, our teams have gathered information and evidence demonstrating this was an act of domestic terrorism motivated by a hate-filled ideology. Some updates. Subject left multiple anti-Catholic, anti-religious references both in his manifesto and written on his firearms. You all saw that last night. Subject expressed hatred and violence toward Jewish people, writing Israel must fall, free Palestine, and using explicit language relating to the Holocaust. He wrote an explicit call for violence against President Trump on a firearm magazine. The FBI investigation is still ongoing. We will employ all of our counterterror tools to ensure this is fully investigated and deterred. As promised, we will continue to update when able. Find out who is the therapist. And as I discussed last night, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Judge Zenas held him back. Looks like he's going to be, for at least a period of weeks, still in U.S. custody and not deported from our soil. I have this clip from Fox News about what Tom Homan thinks of it. And what's your all's thoughts? Is he going to be out by the middle of the month coming up? End of the month? Is he going to win? Judge Zenas, where he's applying for asylum in the United States, where he can freely walk the streets of America as a persecuted migrant. Will it be 1 week, 2 weeks, a month? It's going to be. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this clip. Put your predictions in the comments below. And once again, I want to thank you for spending your precious time with me. And I should be broadcasting tomorrow night. We'll see which way the ball bounces. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
Significant public safety threat. You got it right. He's a gang member, designated terrorist. And he's been ordered removed by 2 different federal judges. He's been indicted for human trafficking and alien smuggling. He's a bad man. And I'm telling you, listen, I'm giving you my word. He will be deported from this country. I got my teeth in this thing. I'm not letting it go. As far as the story now, he's going to claim asylum. First of all, he's beyond the required 1 year. He's been here longer than that, so he should be able to qualify for asylum. And if the judge rules on the law is about asylum seekers. You got to be escaping fear and persecution from your home government because of race, religion, and political affiliation. Well, he's not going to his home country, right? So he's going to either Uganda or any other country we decide to send him to. What is the evidence that he can present that he's going to be persecuted because of his race, religion, and political affiliation? He's got to present that evidence. He doesn't have that evidence. So if the judge